If you're trying to create a retail environment that helps customers feel safe during the COVID-19 pandemic, you just might want to talk to Bill Douglas. While many convenience retailers are hard at work adding hand sanitizing stations and improving the appearance of their restrooms, Douglas is way out in front of the curve, having installed hand sanitizing stations in his Lone Star food stores as long as 3 years ago, and with attention to cleanliness in his stores that takes the industry to a whole new level. Speaking with us from his office in Sherman, Texas, Bill discussed the impact of the pandemic on his business and how he believes the attention to cleanliness in his stores has helped maintain sales in his stores during the pandemic. Well, thank you for joining us, Bill. Texas is now up over 5,000 COVID-19 deaths. The daily cases are in the double digits. How is your business faring in all of this?
Well, initially, like everyone else back in March, we took a terrific nosedive in business. We went off as much as 50% in some stores, and 30% in the best stores. That is the stores that were least affected by COVID people. Today, we're down 20% in fuel volume. That's the whole company at large. And we never did experience the high margins that you had in the East and the West Coast. In fact, at one point, Sherman was listed in the Wall Street Journal as the lowest priced city in the United States in terms of, we had a negative volume, a negative retail. But it's not negative today. We make from 4 cents a gallon, full margins up to 12 cents a gallon, but that's nothing like you read about or hear about when everybody is sympathizing.
Now, what was the cause of that?
Well, essentially, when it started, no one knew what the outcome would be. So we got an initial bump in April to about 25 cents a gallon. And for us, that's incredible. But since our volumes were off between 30 and 40%, it just really offset. And then the market rode with that for about 8 weeks, and every day it changed. Some days it was 20 cents, some days it was 27 cents, and then it'll be 18 cents. And our price changes literally every day here because we're in a split zone. We're on the borderline of the mid-continent supply zone and the Gulf supply zone, and those two obviously aren't talking to each other.
Right.
The prices go back and forth very rapidly every day, and they change as much as 20 cents in a day. And so it's just very hard to plan what's going to happen in the Midwest versus the Gulf Coast because the people in Houston are probably better directing that traffic than we can interpreting it. The volume has come back now. As I said, we're about 20% off. Our customer counts are down about 18, but we're really fortunate because the inside sales are flat. We're the same as last year. So we're getting more sales out of less, fewer people.
Can you explain that in any way?
Well, I think it's because we were long recognized to be the cleanest stores in our market. In fact, we call our restrooms royal restrooms as an example. For instance, in our restrooms, we have the toilet seat covers that are automatic. You've probably seen these.
Yes.
Places like Chicago at O'Hare. That's where I got the idea years ago to put those in. But everything's touch-free. The water's touch-free, the vacuum's touch-free. The dryer's touch-free, the soap's touch-free. We make and the paper towels are touch-free. And then at the door, we have a little dispenser for tissue that you open the door with the tissue and drop it in a container. So you never touch anything with your hands in the restrooms. We've always had, for the last 3 years, we've had sanitizers at the door in every store, at the counters for our restaurants.
So you've actually had hand sanitizers in your stores for 3 years, long before it's been a necessity?
We were really trying to differentiate ourselves. And so we spent a lot of time at that differentiation. So you may say, what do you think is going to happen in the future? Well, we never thought about COVID. We just thought about generally the perception that convenience stores are not as careful.
I was talking to someone recently and wondering whether all of this is going to help the industry do a better job of, or at least improve its reputation in terms of being clean. But you were out in front of that.
Well, I mean, that's on purpose. We have tremendous competitors here. We've got Quick Trip, Racetrack, Buc-ee's. These are huge petropreneurs. So we had to differentiate ourselves as an independent. And that's one of the ways we do it. We have a reputation. For instance, in our restrooms, we have floor to ceiling doors because we have stores with individual restrooms. We have you have your own, so to speak, bathroom without a tub. And
have you had to do anything with regard to equipment, in addition to what you've already had in place, fixtures, et cetera, or equipment for food service?
Yes, we did. Our rulings here have been that you cannot have anything that's self-serve. Our competition hasn't necessarily chosen to respect that, but we do. We removed all the self-serves, the roller grills and the donuts, that type of thing and the soft drinks that were self-serve. We've had to remove that and put it behind the counter. The only thing we did when it first started, when we got the announcements in March, was to go out and build a frame and a plexiglass frame in front of the customer. Then it's gotten a little more sophisticated since that time. We suspend it from the ceiling because it's less intrusive than a big frame.
Right.
But that's what we've done because we've already had the sanitizers. We've already had all the touch-free aspects except for the roller grills and the traditional, if you will, things you can walk in and pick up and carry out.
In terms of your employees, have you had anyone that tested positive or any issues with health among your team?
Yes, we've had one person in one store test positive from employees. From customers. A local landscaping company got a serious bout of COVID, and they were customers, and they gave it to one of our cashiers. We shut the store down. We put it on social media. The store was shut. It was down for 2 days. We hired a professional group to come in and completely sanitize the store. We tested all the employees. Everybody tested negative, so there wasn't any positive people other than the one employee who was sick. And we made it. We were very conscious of making it clear to the public. We knew about it and we resolved it. And so it has not had an adverse effect on that business.
Did you have to change the way you serve the customer in any way? For example, add any curbside or increase drive-through or any of those?
Yes, we had developed our stores initially without drive-throughs. So we only have drive-throughs in about 40% of our stores, and that's a real disadvantage today, as we know. So everybody went to curbside, but for the most part, where we had the big, like for instance, we have a Pie 5, a new pizza franchise. That's that craft pizza. That has a drive-through. It didn't affect us much there because people just came through the drive-through. But when you had to have them come in and pick it up, it really reduces the sales because they have to get out of their car, come in. Even though we have touch-free doors, we have sliding glass doors, they don't really want to come into that atmosphere. They'd rather stay out of any retail if they can.
Right. From a larger perspective, a bigger perspective, you were the chairman of NACS previously. How do you see this impacting the industry as a whole as it rolls out? How is the industry going to get through this?
Well, we've always been an essential part of keeping America moving. I mean, that's been the name and game of the C-store. We've been relied upon through hurricanes in this part of the world, through hurricanes and tornadoes, floods. And, and it's 20. They expect us to be there 24/7. So from our standpoint, I think we're okay. And that is, the public perception is we were there. We were considered essential by the government when they called COVID for social distancing and selective closing. So, I think the way our people do their job has been amazing. I mean, we really have a lot of unsung heroes that just, they just stand in there and they show up and they're there, and the public expects them to be there. And it's really a thrill for me to be associated with people that are that dedicated, and I would say brave.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people that aren't that brave.
It's been nice to see how store employees are being referred to as heroes and really given that sort of respect for what they do.
Right. I mean, they are not abused at all. They've been well treated by the public because the public sees us as an essential service. Mm-hmm. And so I think as an industry, we have a lot to be thankful for. We are not being discounted by this virus.
All right, Bill. Well, listen, thank you for all of this. I appreciate it. And certainly good luck and stay healthy.
Thank you. We've been very fortunate. We're pleased that we're in this business, believe me.